What have you come up with? Tae-hyung can hear himself sounding nervous and expectant and curious at the same time. Junko lets his hand drop from Tae-hyung's cheek and he just stands there, lips into his mouth and eyeing Tae-hyung for a good minute. I don't know if it's too late or not, Junko finally whispers and shrugs. But I love you, Tae. I wanna be with you. It's always been you, and only you, for me. Tae-hyung breathes out as if someone has slapped him on the back, hands coming up over his face in relief, mixed with disbelief, and a wide range of affectionate feelings in between. What the cookie, Tae-hyung whispers and his hands leave his face, and he's just staring right at him. Do you still want me? Tae-hyung doesn't think he's ever seen Junko this vulnerable and his eyes hold a slight fear, probably for Tae-hyung to reject him. Why haven't you said anything until now? Tae-hyung kind of thinks out loud. A lot of thoughts and worries perhaps couldn't have been avoided. I wanted us to talk first, and our talk convinced you not that I needed it, to be honest, but yes. It's painfully clear to me that I love you, and always will, and always have, even during this past year, cookie. Baby. Oh baby, Tae-hyung wants to touch him so bad. It's not too late, and of course I want you. I love you too. You already know this. He bites his lower lip and looks down. I wanna kiss you so bad. His voice cracks slightly but he doesn't care. He is touched. Moved. Very much so. Junko caresses a gentle thumb under Tae-hyung's eye and he realizes he's wiping something away. Then Junko takes a step back. I know. Can't wait, he whispers with a slightly sad smile. Nodding, Tae-hyung finally opens the door to his bungalow, as Junko jumps down the small stairs from the porch to the sandy path leading to his own bungalow. There's a lightness to his step that Tae-hyung hasn't seen for the whole trip. He feels light himself, happy actually. Shiti exclaims when having closed the door behind himself, subconsciously touching his cheek where Jungkook's hand's been resting. Oh my god, what the hell's going on here? He stands in the middle of the bungalow for a long time, going through their conversation in his head over and over, whilst his smile's just getting wider and wider. Their behavior later, at Yoongi's birthday dinner, is honestly beneath contempt, but at least they're enough subtle about it that only the two of them knows what's going on. Or, Tae-hyung may have noticed, and not acknowledged it yet, that Seokjin is kind of observing them quite intense at times. Their eyes have met a couple of occasions as well, but Tae-hyung has just looked away, cheeks pink, knowing that Seokjin is definitely forming an opinion about them, for himself. But Tae-hyung can discuss this with Seokjin at a later point. Right now, he's pretty occupied trying to concentrate on what this girl to his right laughingly is telling him about Yoongi's cups at last year's New Year's party, and it's hilarious, don't get him wrong, but Jungkook's gaze from across the table is absolutely smoking hot and it's burning like fire where it hits the side of Tae-hyung's face. Jungkook is sitting next to Justin, and Tae-hyung noticed from early on, probably right when they arrived at the dinner, that something was completely off with them. Tae-hyung doesn't even dare to think about what went down in their bungalow before they got here, but he has a sneaky, suspicious feeling that Jungkook hasn't been able to keep his mouth shut. Not that he thinks that Jungkook has told Justin anything about his own feelings for Tae-hyung, or what the two of them have talked about when being in private during this trip. But if he can guess, and he doesn't think it's too wild of a guess, actually, Jungkook has probably already hinted to Justin that he's had enough of his flirting with other guys, especially with Jack, and possibly that he can't envision them continuing on together. Obviously, Taehyung knows nothing about that, but he's a good judge of character, and Jungkook's relieved and sinfully flirtatious expression, combined with Justin's utterly confused and lost one, tells Taehyung that he thinks he's right in his assessment. And that's when Yoongi threw all his clothes and jumped into the pool, and I'm not kidding, it was probably freezing temperatures, and he didn't even bat an eye. But the girl next to Taehyung waits till she has his full attention, but then he sort of passes out, with a smile on his lips, mind, and that's when we call an ambulance. She makes a cheeky face and Taehyung really makes an effort to seem engaged, and laughs. Sounds exactly like Yoongi, that's my boy, partying until passing out. She laughs as well, and Taehyung looks at her, but in the corner of his eye he perceives how Jungkook stands up and leaves the table. Justin stays put and Taehyung can't help but discreetly direct his look to someone quickly approaching in Jungkook's absence, and, of course, it's Jack. Taehyung can't believe him, can't believe them, they're so obvious, and Taehyung can't help but wonder if Justin is stupid or if he genuinely doesn't have a clue how his and Jack's behavior may come across. But it's obvious that Jungkook has had some serious talk with Justin before this, because he gives Jack an annoyed look and subtly shakes his head, silently telling him not to sit down in Jungkook's empty seat. Taehyung is no lip reader, but he can clearly make out a "what's wrong" from Jack and a reply from Justin, later. "Sorry," and Jack looks confused and waves back and forth on his feet a couple of times before he slowly moves back to where his seat is, further down the table. The woman who has tried to keep the conversation going with Taehyung has apparently given up and is now talking to someone to her right, and Taehyung can't help but subtly, and rather curiously, follow what's going on across the table. And suddenly Justin stands up as well and walks in the direction of the beach bathrooms, situated in a small cottage-like house just a tiny bit down the beach. Taehyung throws a quick glance in the direction of Jack, seeing him following Justin's exit with hawk eyes. And Taehyung does too. Jungkook is not yet anyway, and he can make no claims on him whatsoever at this point. He trusts that Jungkook is, and has been, serious about Taehyung all along, and that he has already made up his mind and is calling it off with Justin. But this knowledge doesn't actually stifle the jealousy rising up inside of him, seeing Justin determinedly running after Jungkook, probably with the intention of trying to talk some sense into him. What if he succeeds? Taehyung has his head at his own stupid insecurity and takes a deep breath. There's nothing he can do about it, anyway. He just needs to relax. "I think I'm gonna pay the loo a quick visit," he hears the man to his left say, whilst he stands up and puts the napkin he's had in his lap back onto the table. He smiles at Taehyung, and that's when the woman to Taehyung right turns towards them and addresses the needy guy. "I saw Jungkook and his man sneak away there just a minute ago. I would wait for a bit if I were you, and..." "Excuse me?" Taehyung thinks and bites his lip not to sport an outrageous expression, but he can tell that her words make the standing bloke nervous. He carefully looks at Taehyung, as if to decipher if he has taken offense, because not many at this party do not know that Jungkook and Taehyung have been a sure thing for a very long time, and quite a few are probably well confused about spotting Jungkook with another guy than Taehyung at this party weekend. Except from the girl to Taehyung right, then, who just smiles cheekily, completely oblivious. He has gone from thinking that she's cool to sort of hating her. She has now turned back to join the conversation to her right, and the loo guy is still standing kind of frozen to his spot, next to Taehyung. "I think it's safe for you to go to the bathrooms," Taehyung mumbles in his direction. As a matter of fact, I think I need to go myself. The guy looks very hesitant, but Tae-hyung stands up and starts to walk, and the bloke follows immediately, probably not daring to do anything else. They're probably 10-15 meters away from on the outside, cozy-looking wooden house, when they can hear a bit muffled but still clear voices coming from the inside. Tae-hyung slows down in his step and his table companion stops altogether behind him. Tae-hyung can feel his uncertain gaze in his neck. Is it Tae-hyung? It comes from someone who, by process of elimination, only can be just him. I knew this was happen. His voice is agitated, and Tae-hyung can only assume that they've been talking about him, since they got there.